Again, Logan O'Hoppe came up with a chance to win it late for the Angels, and again, he came through. We'll talk about that game-winning 3-run shot from our man on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and after the fact, wherever you get your Locked On Angels podcast feed. The Halos have won their season high 5th in a row with a 5-2 late heroic win against the Tigers. Now, 5 straight wins after sweeping the A's, 2 straight against the Tigers, and this one was all about Logan O'Hoppe coming up with 2 on in the bottom of the 8th inning in a weird game, a game that the Angels went ahead early, blew a lead, and then neither team did anything. But then the man, the guy you want to come up late in the game if you are the Angels, I think it's safe to say it's Logan O'Hoppe. We saw the walk-off home run earlier, a couple games ago, weeks ago, something like that, and we see it here tonight. A absolute bomb, 3-run shot to erase what was a crazy game and give the Angels that longest winning streak of the season. Shout out to everybody in here. Nick King, I gotta say, shout out to you. O'Hoppe Bomber. That is right. You saw it on the thumbnail. Logan O'Hoppe Bomber. That might be the name. That might be the name because he's starting to come through with bombs a whole lot, very often, and in big time moments. On today's show, we will certainly talk about that O'Hoppe home run, but we're also going to talk about poor, pitiful Zach Plesac, how the bullpen was able to overcome it, and also Luis Rengifo stays red hot as well. But before we jump into any of that, a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And with all that being said, we have to start with the bottom of the 8th inning because the Angels come into the bottom of the 8th, tied at 2-2 after several solid innings from several relievers bailing out a poor Plesac start. The bullpen does their job. The lineup did not do much in this one, but finally, in the bottom of the 8th inning, Shelby Miller comes in for Andrew Chafin, and that's when the Angels are able to deliver. After a 1-out hit from Luis Rengifo, who had a phenomenal game, Taylor Ward makes it back-to-back singles. Let's be honest, two bloopers, but we'll take it. A slider right down the middle against Rengifo. He hits it to 76.9 exit velo on the first pitch of the at-bat, but he's able to bloop one to the left fielder for a base hit, and then Taylor Ward comes up and just 2 pitches later gets a splitter right down the middle and is able to, once again, not really a blooper on this one, a hard line drive, but able to get down before the left fielder. 2, plays where maybe the outfielder could have a play if it's hit more at him, but no. 2 balls that get down. Obviously, Ward's not a blooper, a strong liner, but before the outfielder. And then Kevin Pillar strikes out, and so with 2 outs, Logan O'Hoppe comes up. And I don't know about you guys, but I think this is the guy you want in clutch moments. Sometimes it's Zach Neto, sure, sometimes it's Taylor Ward, and of course, I still think Luis Rengifo has been the best hitter, the best player for the Angels this season. Came into this game as the leader in the AL in batting average. But I still think not Neto, not Rengifo, not Taylor Ward, not anybody else you can think of. Logan O'Hoppe is the guy you want in the clutch. We've seen it multiple times now, especially when it's not a situational, we need a base hit, we need a sac fly. No, if you need power, if you need a clutch big swing, it feels like Logan O'Hoppe is that guy. And sure, a base hit would have done the job, but no. Logan O'Hoppe is bigger than that. He's better than that. And he absolutely unloads, and I mean unloads, 105 exit velo. Once again, Miller throwing an off-speed pitch that catches too much of the zone. He did it against Rengifo in this inning. He did it against Ward. And finally, worst of all for him, he does it against Logan O'Hoppe, a 87.5 mile-an-hour splitter basically right down the middle, a little bit inside, and that is prime location for a guy like Logan O'Hoppe to turn on it, keep the hands inside, keep the ball fair, and boy, did he do that. 105 exit velo, 418 feet. And just like that, with one swing of the bat, a bad start and a relatively poor offensive performance other than the first inning turns into a huge 5-2 lead. And like I said, I think it's time to say that Logan O'Hoppe is the hitter you want in the clutch for the Angels. And gosh, how good does it feel, guys? How good does it feel? Because if the Angels won this one 2-1 or something, or 3-2, after getting the 2 runs in the first, after giving up the 2 in the third, if they scored a run in like the 6th inning and then no one did anything and they held on for a 3-2 win, it would have felt great. Don't get me wrong. It's the longest winning streak of the season. A team that was 30-46 is now 35-46. We certainly would have been happy regardless. But it feels so great when it's on a big fly from one of the youngins. And I say it every time, and I'll say it again. It feels better when it's one of the youngins. It was cool to see Sano and Calhoun do it yesterday. It was. But it is so much better when it is the future of your franchise. And Logan O'Hoppe arguably is the number one guy in terms of the future. Probably more than Zach Neto. Definitely more than Nolan Shanuel and Joe Adell and Mickey Moniak and a Ben Joyce and a Davis Daniel now, I guess you could say. Guys like that, and Patrick Sandoval. I think Logan O'Hoppe is not only the clutch hitter for the Angels, but I also think he is the number one young guy to build the team around. We see him come through in big moments. He also just has that aura of leadership, of I'm going to come through, but I'm also, when things are not going well, I'm going to pick up my teammates. Obviously, as a catcher, that's one of your biggest responsibilities. We saw him have to do it with Plesac today. Obviously, Plesac just kind of was a mess. You couldn't really overcome that one. But Logan O'Hoppe breeds confidence. He breeds leadership. Not only is he a huge guy, not only is he a big guy in terms of stature, but in terms of personality and confidence, and not in a flashy way. I mean, I love the post-game interview after the game. Very humble, very cool. You would have thought he had a game-winning sac fly, not a game-winning 3-run home run. Cool, calm, and collected, but confident and a leader. Fud Alex here saying Zach Neto too. I totally agree. The two youngest, most brightest stars for the Angels, the two guys of the future, I think both have not only the physical attributes and are slowly becoming more and more everyday major league studs, but they also have the character, the personality that you can build a franchise around. And it's tough to have that when your team is no good. But they're resilient, their character, and O'Hoppe just breeds everything you want from a leader, from a catcher. And he's kind of the rare catcher, the JT Realmuto type of catcher, where he's going to give you stuff on the bases. He's going to give you stuff in the field. He's going to give you stuff with the bat. He's not a liability in any way, and he has the clutch gene. I think he does. I think it's fair to say. MCAT, shout out to you in here. He says O'Hoppe is definitely the backbone of the team this season, and we need to build around him. Absolutely. And Nick King adding, I think Nolan Shanuel will be there with them next year too. Absolutely. Shanuel is number 3 in terms of the young guys in the lineup that you have faith in. He's heating up. He's just got to go 1 for 4 every day to keep rising that average. At one point in this game, it was over 230. We are in the 230s. We'd love to see it in the 230s. Hope we see it in the 240s. If we could see it in the 250s by the end of the year, that would be amazing. But yes, that big 3, we know Joe Adell's kind of fallen off in that, has honestly never really been in that. We know Mickey Moniak isn't really in that either. Those 3, though, Neto, O'Hoppe, and Shanuel, certainly make me confident for the future of the Angels. And they're making me feel more and more confident about the present as well right now, because they're not only showing flashes. They're starting to come through regularly in key moments, and Logan O'Hoppe is the number 1 prime example of that. Shout out to everybody in here. Love the big crowd whenever the Angels win. When we come back, I'm going to take my first break here. We're going to talk about the rest of the Angels lineup. We're going to talk about the rest of the game in terms of pitching, because Zach Plesac was poor. He was awful. One of the most shocking innings I've ever seen from a starting pitcher, I'll be honest. But the bullpen was able to back him up, come through with absolutely perfect pitching from innings 4 through 9, and obviously setting up that eventual game-winning home run from Logan OHoppe. So we're going to take our first break here. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I always forget to say it, but I am Gavin Carlson. I am a credible guy. 4 years as a credentialed journalist in the Los Angeles area. Now, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And when I come back after my first break, I'm going to talk to you about the way the Angels got this one started, thanks to a not quite young guy, but arguably, and maybe not arguably, maybe obviously, the best player for the Angels in 2024 coming through once again. We'll talk about that and that entire pitching performance after our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, once again, today's show is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. And yes, I'm talking about your rivals cities. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city. Now, I said it yesterday. I've got a New York trip I'm planning. I think it's going to happen. You know, it's always tough to, especially for me, recent college grad, not a ton of money, but with Booking.com, I feel confident that I'm going to find the best place to stay for my potential and most likely happening trip to New York. And yes, I know the Yankees or Mets are not rivals, but they're up there, and I'm excited to see my rival city, my opposing MLB city in New York, and I will certainly use Booking.com to do it, because from hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com or on the site in the Booking.com app as well. Shout out to Booking.com. And today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Now, it's no secret, I love fantasy sports and I love betting on sports when I can, because of course, not always allowed, and I say always, never allowed in California. But I love sports and I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But now that the NBA and NHL playoffs are over, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to do. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets at any time I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. We are back here live on Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast, and the Angels are not only victorious tonight, but they are victorious in 5 in a row. That's right, the longest winning streak of the season. 5 games, a sweep of the A's, and now a 2-0 start to the 4-game set against the Detroit Tigers. The Angels now 35-46. They were 30-46 just under a week ago, so loving to see that 16 game under 500, now 11 games under 500. Pretty soon it might be single digits under 500, and that's what we love to see. Absolutely. Shout out to everybody in here, MCAT, Nick King, Fut Alex. Shout out to all of you. Appreciate it. Love the positivity after a win like this one. Now, I already talked about the difference in this one, as I continue to struggle talking today. I don't know why. Other than that, I'm exhausted. I already talked about it yesterday. I'm still moving, relatively settled in the apartment now, but I'm still exhausted from about 2.5 full days of moving in. But let's talk about the reason the Angels were even in this game, because other than the O'Hoppe home run in the bottom of the 8th, the only other offense the Angels had was in the first inning, ironically. Bottom of the 8th, the last time the Angels come up. Bottom of the first time the Angels come up. And those are the only times the Angels come through. But in the bottom of the first, they did not waste any time. Nolan Chanuel leads off the bottom of the first against Kenta Maeda, who had a great start other than the first inning. Before getting knocked out, the Angels dodged a bullet with him getting knocked out because they were not really hitting well against him. But in the first inning, they were. And it started with a great at-bat from Nolan Chanuel. Gets ahead 2-0, then falls to 2-2, takes a ball on 3 to make it 3-2 on a tough but great take. And then, on the full count 3-2 pitch, a sweeper right down the middle. Not an awful pitch, because on 3-2, obviously you need to throw a strike. keep the hitter guessing with a sweeper, but Shanuel waits on it perfectly, hits a ground ball between first and second base, 97.6 exit velo, and suddenly the leadoff man is on. And so many times, I feel like so many times we've seen that when Shanuel can get on in the leadoff spot, something usually goes well in the bottom of the first, and it did right away, because just 2 pitches later, the man of the week, before O'Hoppe did his thing, was Luis Rengifo. There was a lot of talk in the recent days about, hey, he's now has enough plate appearances, enough at-bats to be eligible on the MLB stat lists, and he goes from not being on the list to now being the leader in the American League in batting average. But it's not just been the batting average. He's had an all-around amazing hitting season. He hit a home run yesterday, the difference in that game, and he hits a huge home run here in the bottom of the first, gets a fastball right down the middle on 1-0 and crushes it. 101 exit velo, 398 feet to center field. He almost hit one out a couple innings later to left center field that was just caught at the warning track. So Rengifo has been swinging such a great bat. It's nice to see the Angels on the top of any sort of stat ranking that is a good, positive ranking. And so Rengifo now goes 2 for 4 again today, 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 RBIs. He is now hitting .315 with an .808 OPS. And I already see some people talking about it in the comment section. I'll address it right now. The debate around trading Luis Rengifo. It's certainly a valid debate. And I have to find it because there's so many comments today. Shout out to everybody in here leaving the comments. But MCAT says, Gavin, do you think there's any chance we keep Rengifo instead of trading him? I know he's a valuable trade piece, but he's so dang pivotal for us. And this is a really tough one. It really is. Because it's not like it's certainly not like a Kevin Pillar or Willie Calhoun or any of those guys where, sure, if you can get anything for them, you get rid of them. It's not even like a reliever, a bullpen guy where if you are a team that's not competing can ship away an arm in the bullpen for prospects, I think you almost do it 9 times out of 10. But this is a guy who is not young, but he's certainly not old. He's kind of in his prime. And the Angels kind of need to make a decision soon about it. This is not like wait on it. This is like trade him for a piece or sign him to a multi-year extension and put your trust and money in Luis Rengifo being an everyday stud utility player for the Angels for the near and distant future. There's no in between with this one. It's not like a Taylor Ward where I think he needs to go, but you can wait on it. He's an older guy. If you don't trade him this year, maybe the following year, maybe you just let him run out of his contract. This is a guy that peak value right now because a team that trades for him is not trading for him to be a one-year guy. It's not like when you trade a Taylor Ward or a Kevin Pillar or Willie Calhoun. I know it's crazy grouping Ward with those guys. I'm not quite doing that. But even a bullpen arm, something like that, most of the time it's a contender getting that guy for the end of the regular season and for a playoff run. We know that at the deadline. That's usually what it is. But that's not what it would be if you traded for Luis Rengifo. That is trading for a guy that, of course, is going to help a team in the end of the regular season this year, in the playoffs this year. But he's a guy that is going to become a everyday starter for that team for years to come. You got to sign him to extension. If you were to trade him, he's not really like, he's a great contact hitter who occasionally has these big home runs. He's a solid fielder. He's not the type of profile, though, at least in my opinion, that a team trades for and says this is the difference in us winning the World Series or not, right? Like, I don't see a team like the Yankees saying all we need is Luis Rengifo and we're good, right? You feel that way about a starting pitcher or about a closing pitcher or about a guy who's going to hit third or fourth in the lineup. But a guy like Rengifo, if you go out and give a lot for him, which I think the Angels can demand, you say he's going to be our leadoff hitter for this year, but also for years to come. And so it's a weird one. It's a weird one because the Angels have to make a decision not just for this season. It feels like it's either trade or commit long-term with Luis Rengifo. And I see that everyone in the comments right now is saying he needs to stay. Nick King says, I think there's a good chance he stays. He's very useful to us defensively and offensively. But Alex said he needs to stay. MCAT says, multi-year extension, please, please, please. And Fudd Alex says, I agree. It's going to be really interesting because, like I said, he has been the best Angel this season, in my opinion. It might not be close. There's only one guy hitting over 280 in the lineup today, and that's Kevin Pillar hitting 287, and that's because there haven't been many at-bats. Other than that, it's Luis Rengifo, 315. He's been great. He's been great. And I think as much as I am pro trading almost as many people as possible this season, I feel like I am pro keeping Rengifo, like you guys. And I hope this is not me being distracted by a 5-game winning streak, being distracted by him having home runs in back-to-back games. But he just feels like a guy who you want to have on your team for the near and distant future with some of the young guys, right? Like an infield of, we don't know what's going to happen with Rendon, I know, but an infield with Neto and Rengifo and Shanuel and O'Hoppe at whether that's first, second, short, and catcher, or Rengifo's at third, whatever. That is a nice core that you can trust for a while. And if it's Rendon at third, okay, but that is a great infield for the near and distant future. You know, the outfield is so different, and that's why I think just blow it up there. Get rid of Taylor Ward. Obviously, we're waiting on Trout. Obviously, Moniak will probably get another chance. Joe Adell, who even knows? But the outfield feels like one of those things where you might need to decide next year, depending on how this year goes, maybe you got to go sign a big outfielder, or maybe you need to draft multiple outfielders. But in the infield, you lock in Rengifo with the Neto, with the Shanuel, with the O'Hoppe, and that feels like that can be the core of the Los Angeles Angels for a while. So yes, I think I am on the Rengifo train because he's a contact hitter and not like a crazy flashy fielder and not a crazy flashy base runner or anything like that. I don't think you got to churn out crazy money, right? Like there's not many guys like that in the league this year or this era. You know, you think of a Luis Arias on the Padres that they just traded for, right? A few guys like that are strictly contact guys. And those guys aren't going to get the huge contracts that an Aaron Judge is going to get hitting 40, 50 home runs, right? So I think you can lock up Rengifo to a reasonable deal right now while he's not too young, while he's not too old, and have him be a part of the core. But it's a tough decision because if teams start throwing you 3 or 4 prospects, including 1 or 2 that could be Rengifo level in a couple of years, it's going to be hard to turn that down when you are 11 games still, even after this 5-game streak, still 11 games under 500. So that was a kind of detour from the postcast and more just talking big picture. I like to change it up. I know that's become a very reasonable and valid question. A lot of comments about it from all of you, and thank you to all of you for the comments. I'm going to take my last break here on the postcast, and when I come back, we're going to talk about the pitching tonight because this was a tale of 2 stories for the Angels. A horrible start and then a great bullpen performance. I feel like it's normally the opposite with this team, but not today. When we come back, we'll talk about it on tonight's edition of a victorious Angels 5, Tigers 2, Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, finally, today's show is brought to you by GameTime. Now, look, I love going to baseball games. I love going to all sporting events. If you're watching this podcast, you are probably an Angels fan, or at the very least a sports fan, or you're just really, really lost on YouTube right now. But assuming you are a sports fan and a baseball fan like me, there's no better feeling than going to a baseball game. And that's why you need to know about GameTime. GameTime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Here's the key with GameTime. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I tell the story so many times in the summer, a time like now, where growing up in high school, man, what am I going to do today? Oh, I think I'm going to go to the game. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to see how cheap the ticket can get. I might even go to the park without even buying the ticket yet, because I know that on the GameTime app, last minute, I can get the ticket for a great price, still get in the ballpark on time, and have a great time. And that's not the only thing with GameTime. Obviously, the last minute deals where you can save up to 60%, but there's flash deals where you can have select seats, exclusive in-app deals ahead of the game. There's zone deals where you just pick the section and GameTime will choose the seat for you for a cheaper price. And my favorite part is the seat view. You can go on the app and it'll show you the view from the seat you're going to have. Because sometimes the 4th row is nice, but the 8th row might be better in terms of the view, believe it or not. And so you can see that on the GameTime app. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We are back here on a Friday night, a victory Friday night Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels 5, Tigers 2, thanks to a 3-run game-winning home run from Logan O'Hoppe in the bottom of the 8th inning before Carlos Estevez shut the door with a 16th save. He's been red hot. But the Angels had to do a lot of work to get to the bottom of the 8th inning and the game's still tied. Because Zach Plesac, the starter for the Angels tonight, was no good. And ironically, you say that despite him having a great start to the game. A 1-2-3 first and a 1-2-3 second. So, gee, Gavin, what happened for you to say that he was pitiful, poor, awful? I'll tell you what. One of the most shocking innings I've ever seen from a pitcher. And it started so well. Gets a ground out and a strikeout to start the top of the 3rd. So you got 2 outs, nobody on. Okay, you give up a single to Kreidler. That's fine. Runner on first, still 2 outs. You're fine, right? No, he walks Perez. Okay, first and second, 2 outs. Wait, then he walks another guy, Green. Now the bases are loaded. People are starting to boo. Wait, then he walks Vierling. He walks in a run with the bases loaded. Okay, but how is he going to respond? He walks another guy. He walks Marcana, and it's suddenly 2-2. He comes into the top of the 3rd with a 2-0 lead thanks to that Rengifo home run. He gets the first 2 guys out, and still, somehow, he manages to give up 2 runs despite giving up 1 single in the inning. The only hit in the inning was a single, and he gave up 2 runs because he walked not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 consecutive guys. I feel like LeBron when he came out with the big 3 for the Heat. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. 4 walks in a row for Plesac, and that was all she wrote. It's crazy because, 2 runs through 3 innings, not the end of the world. But you could just tell that Plesac was done. Mentally, he was out of it. He was emotional. He was frustrated. You walk 4 guys in a row. It's kind of hard to trust you to get out of the inning. And I thought the decision to get rid of him was right there because it's not like, it's all about the scenario. If you give up a 3-run shot and there's 2 outs, and even if you are as frustrated and as out of it as Plesac looked at that moment, if it's a 3-run shot, then the bases are empty and you could totally reset. But when the bases are loaded and you walk in a run and then you respond by walking in another run, guess what? You don't have time to reset with the empty bases and maybe even give up another single. No, it's time to make the change now. The bases are still loaded. And so I think Ron Washington made the right decision. Even though he'd only given up 2 runs through 3 innings, he was out of it mentally. And the bases were still loaded. And an out still needed to be had because now it's a tie game and you might lose the lead. And so he brings in Marte, and thank goodness Marte gets it done. A great at-bat. He gets a decent call to start the appearance for him. A cutter on the outside corner that probably wasn't on the outside corner, but gets a strike, throws a fastball that almost hit the guy. That would have made me lose it. Then he gets a foul ball and a changeup down and in. And then on 1 and 2, you're in the position you want to be. You throw a sinker below the knees, and you get the weak ground out. So shout out to Jose Marte bailing out Plesac in the 3rd. And then, from there, just great Angel bullpen pitching. Marte goes through the whole 4th inning, gives up just 1 hit, gets out of it. Then Matt Moore comes in for the 5th. 1, 2, 3. Then Strickland comes in for the 6th. 1, 2, 3. Then in the 7th. 1, 2, 3 from Strickland again. Then Garcia comes in the 8th. Thanks to Luis Guillerme, great play to lead off the inning. 1, 2, 3. And then in the 9th, take a guess what happened when Estevez comes in. 1, 2, 3. The bullpen was almost perfect. Almost perfect. MCAT said it. Moore and Garcia were excellent. Absolutely. You look at the stat lines. Marte, 1 1/3 innings, just gives up 1 hit with a strikeout. Beautiful. The ERA is 1.5. Matt Moore comes in 1 inning, 1, 2, 3. Strickland comes in for 2 innings, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with 2 strikeouts. Perfect. Garcia comes in 1 inning, 1, 2, 3, and Estevez 1, 2, 3. So those ERAs go down. Estevez now has 16 saves. He's been absolutely lights out. He was this close to tying the Angels franchise record for most consecutive guys out. He just missed it, gave up a single right when we needed it last time out, but he gets right back to where he started with a 1, 2, 3 save here. He's got 16 saves. The ERA is down to 3.12. He's a trade candidate for sure. We'll see what happens with him. We already talked about Rengifo. So much can happen with this team, and I've talked about it so much. This is such an interesting stretch because the Angels are playing bad teams, and the Angels are still probably a bad team. But if you keep doing what you're doing, if you keep winning, it will get harder, even for someone like me, who is still very much on the don't get distracted by a few wins. This team is still not a playoff team. This franchise still has no future in terms of prospects. I'm still in that boat. And it will take a whole lot more wins for me to get off that train. But it will get harder and harder to justify blowing it up and trading everybody if the Angels keep winning. And hey, that's a lot better problem to have than being 30 games under 500. You're 11 games under 500, and if you can cut it to 8, 7, 6, around the All-Star break, around the deadline, maybe you don't blow it up completely, and maybe you just see which guys you want for the future, like a Luis Rengifo. But with all that being said, I'm going to quickly go through the comments because there were so many, and I don't want to miss any of them. We talked about O'Hoppe. Fudd Alex said, imagine if we had Trout too. I'm not sure if it's Angels playing bad teams. I feel like Trout would help a lot as well. I mean, of course, I think so too. He's one of the best players of all time, and I don't care what nobody says. MCAT says Rendon might help. Yeah, I don't know about that. MCAT. I don't really want to see him. I'll be honest. I kind of like what we have going right now. Fudd Alex responded, and who? Talking about Rendon. Nick King said, Booking. Yeah, is growing on me. John, Mike, and yourself got me saying it with you guys. Booking.com, that's a great little slogan they got there. That's called good marketing, good advertising, if you're liking that. MCAT asking, maybe Drury's feeling better soon. Yeah, that's what I want to see, because the Luis Guillorme experiment at times is not great. He had a great day today, 2 for 3. You got to give him his credit. He comes through. They even gave him a chance to hit against a lefty, and the announcers were puzzled. He's coming through. But I still think Brandon Drury, of course, is a better player than Luis Guillorme, and at the very least, another platoon opportunity, Drury against lefties, Guillorme against righties. I'm still going through a couple more comments, making sure I don't miss anything. Okay, I'm just checking. A lot of comments. MCAT said, I had thought Plesac's time in the minors would have chilled him out. That temper of his always gets him in trouble. Yeah, you could just tell emotionally he lost it. Kind of like Patrick Sandoval at times a little bit. What's with the Angels and having these emotional guys? I don't know. I don't think Plesac's stuff is great, to be honest. I think that's the biggest issue, even more than the temper, is I just don't think his stuff is great. He doesn't throw hard, but he doesn't throw ground ball pitches, and he doesn't even have killer, deadly strikeout pitches. So he's one of those guys who, you know, I'm blanking on names. Maybe like a Zach Greinke type of nothing crazy electric, just really good at getting outs with a variety of pitches. There's probably a better name I can think of than that, but I just don't think he's the 2024 type of starting pitcher that you really love. Ironically, we saw a similar thing from Davis Daniel yesterday, and it worked out perfectly fine. But the difference, Davis Daniel does not have a temper. He was cool, calm, and collected his entire start, and he was in a groove. Plesac certainly is not that. There's so many comments. I think I might have missed some, but certainly I appreciate all of them. I love the chatter. So shout out to everybody in here one more time. MCAT, Fudd Alex, Nick King, and I love all the comments, making me laugh, making it a fun Friday night. It was a fun Friday night because the Angels came through with a beautiful 5-2 win, 5 straight. And so we will be back here tomorrow, hoping to make it 6 straight, hoping to make it just 10 games under 500, and hoping to clinch a series win over the Tigers before you even have to play the last game. How nice would that be? So I'm still getting situated in my apartment. I'm still exhausted, but tomorrow I'm hoping. I know I told you the Angels banner was going to be behind me. It's still not. There's some things with the new landlord. I don't even know if I'm allowed to nail in the banner behind me. We'll find a way to get it up. But I will be more energetic again tomorrow. Hopefully the moving is officially done. And hopefully, above all else, the Angels can get another win. So shout out to everybody in here. MCAT says, sorry, I talk a lot. Don't say sorry. Say big win and leave it at that. Absolutely. Fudd Alex says, good night, bro, and good night, everyone. Yes. Love seeing the community grow here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. We're going to keep growing it, and the Angels are going to keep growing that winning streak, hopefully, again tomorrow. So with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson. This was the Locked On Angels Postcast, and the Angels are victorious 5-2. They're 11 games under 500, and Logan OHoppe is that guy. Take care, everybody. Have a great Friday night, a really great Friday night after this win, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care, everybody.